Hi and welcome back. Today I'm going to be making a basic trunk handle. These handles are going to be used on some pretty heavy toolboxes, so I've oversized the handle a little bit to make them more comfortable to use. I'm using 16 gauge sheet metal for the back plate, and this is a 2-inch by 4-inch piece. If you were making handles for a blanket box or a smaller tool chest, the process would be exactly the same as what I'm showing you here. You would just need to scale your measurements down to make up a smaller handle. The first step is to texture the back plate to give the surface a little more interest. You have to be very careful how you approach this. I never use cross peen hammers or ball peens or any kind of textured hammer that would leave an obviously dented surface on the metal. I use a couple of different hammers that have faces ground to slightly different radiuses, and then I work very systematically over the entire surface. I start by beveling the edges, and then I work my way inside the back plate. I'm working on the good side of the back plate, that is the finished side that is going to be on the outside towards the handle. When I'm satisfied with the texture that I've created on the top side, I'll turn it over on the anvil, good side down, and then I'll hammer the entire surface with the broadest, flattest hammer that I have. This will take away 90% of the obvious hammer marks on the good side of the back plate, but still leave enough of a texture to catch the light and give the back plate a very interesting look. Next I need to make the two lugs that are going to be riveted to the back plate. I'm going to be using this 9/32 inch drill as a mandrel to bend the lugs around. I'm using 4-inch common nails as the bar stock for the lugs. The actual handle is going to be made out of a 1/4-inch round bar, so bending the lugs tightly around this 9/32 inch drill is going to give me enough play for the handle to move freely without it being too sloppy. The handle is made from a 10-inch piece of 1/4-inch round bar. I start by making a 90-degree bend at the end of the bar that's approximately 3/4 of an inch long. And then I bend the curved portion of the handle 90 degrees to that first bend. The inside diameter of that curve is approximately 1.5 inches. I repeat this process at the other end of the bar, and then I keep refining the shape until both sides of the handle are symmetrical, and I'm left with about 1.5 inches between the two uprights of the handle. And that should leave you with a handle that's approximately 4.5 inches wide. The position of the lugs is determined by the final shape of the handle. I center the handle on the back plate, and then I'll put 2 chalk marks that'll let me know the spacing of the lugs. And then I'll extend those lines across the plate, and I'll draw in the center line for the plate. And then I can use the actual lugs that have been cut to length to locate the actual center punch marks for the drill holes. You'll notice that I didn't bother to file any kind of a shoulder on these lugs, so you'll need to drill a hole that's the same diameter as the bar stock that you used for the lugs. I've never had the opportunity to dismantle an antique trunk handle of this type, but I have seen quite a number of them in antique shops, and quite often the lugs are loose and they don't appear to me to have any kind of a shoulder on them, so that's how I'm doing it here. Next, the lugs are driven into place. I do this over the jaws of the vise so the legs can extend well beyond the back plate. Now I'm ready to create the rivet heads on the ends of the lugs that are going to prevent the lugs from being pulled out of the backplate. I'm using a piece of hardwood to lock the lugs in place while I'm riveting. I just clamp the whole thing in the vise until the lug is embedded into the face of the hardwood block. This supports the lug very securely without marking it up. And then I use a very light cross peen to create the rivet heads. I use very light hammer blows. Don't try to rush this because it will take a little bit of time. And then once the rivet heads are formed, I'll use a heavier hammer to drive the rivet heads flush to the back plate. Now I'm ready to install the handle in the back plate, but of course there's a problem because the handle is designed not to come off the back plate when it's in this shape. So I need to modify one of these vertical pins so I can slide it into the back plate. The simple solution for this is to bend the front bar of the handle basically in line with the vertical peg of the handle. This not only turns the peg sideways so you can insert it into that second lug, but it also shortens the distance a little bit between the two lugs. And here's what it looks like when I do it hot. I'm using round nose tongs here so I don't create any creases that are going to be hard to hammer out later. And you can see how bending the front part of the handle makes it easy to hammer everything back into shape. I was able to install the handle in one heat, but if I needed another heat or two to refine the shape and get everything back in position, that part of the handle would be easy to put back in the fire. And here's the finished handle. I've put it through the fire one last time to give it everything an even texture, and I've applied an oil finish. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you next time.